Good evening and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to give everyone just a few minutes to join us. Welcome to our insurance travel talk tonight. We have a great group that are joining us, and I have Carrie Painter, who's joining us from CAA. Welcome, Carrie. And of course, like to say hello.
Hello.
And I have Lindsay Taylor, who is with Orion Travel Insurance, and Ghislaine, who's joining us as well. He joined us last night in French, and tonight, welcome again. We're doing our presentation in English. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Karen.
Okay, we've got a good number that are on the call, so we will get started. So I'm Karen Taff. I am the manager of product development and groups at CAA North and East, and thank you very much for joining us this evening. So why CAA? Well, we have been in business since 1961. We are your one-stop service providing worldwide travel, whether you're looking for a wonderful cruise or a tour or simple air only, we can help you every single step of the way. And we have some exclusive member benefits, especially for you, our members. We'll service you in our, of course, our Ottawa stores. We're also available Thunder Bay, North Bay, and Sudbury. And of course, you can get in touch with us online or via the phone as well. So CAA offers our members exclusive member benefits. We've got some contracts with our cruise partners, our tour partners that nobody else in the marketplace has. So it makes it very special for our members. And at CAA North and East, another incredible perk is up to 20% saving on travel insurance. And for me, it's still the most important thing that I pack. I make sure I've got a picture of my wallet card every time I'm traveling. So I'm covered for emergency medical, your trip cancellation and interruption, vehicle damage, and baggage loss. Now, check your passport. That's the very first step to travel. Make sure it's not expired. If it's expired, go on into the CAA offices and we're going to do your photos there for free if you are a Plus or a Premier member. If you are a everyday or a classic, the passport photos are only $8.50, and we go on into the CAA stores and they will take care of that for you. You can use CAA dollars that you will earn with our CAA reward partners. If you go onto our website and click rewards, you'll be surprised how many incredible partners that we do have. But you can earn some CAA dollars and you can actually apply those to your travel. If you need an international driving permit, we will issue those in our stores. They require a passport photo, and the international driving permit we do right there on the spot for you. Also, some savings in addition to that incredible 20% off your CAA travel insurance. If you need any luggage or travel accessories going into our stores, you could be earning up to 20% saving. You also will save on your home and your auto insurance with CAA, and also Shell. You can be saving on your gas and your car washes at Shell. We offer an everyday membership as low as $30 a year for all of the member perks without the roadside, and that's a very popular CAA program you can get in any of our stores online or give us a call as well. So why book with a travel consultant? Well, right now our team are all traveling. They've been there. They've got the expert tips to help you out and plan and make the process so easy for you. They're there for you every single step of the way. And again, we've got those exclusive perks that you're not going to find anywhere else. We have them contracted for CAA for our cruises and tours, and essentially one-stop shop for all of your travel needs, starting with your trip and your insurance, every single thing that you need. We're going to be there to help you out. As a member, you can be saving with our service fees. So we have some, whether you're a Premier Plus or Classic and Everyday, you're going to be saving on our service fees. And again, all those incredible discounts with different levels of memberships. And again, the luggage, the travel accessory savings. We have, of course, incredible airport parking offers with Park and Fly. Via Rail, you can be saving as well as a member. Now, without further ado, Lindsay Taylor from CAA Travel Insurance, Orion, thank you very much for joining us and sharing your expertise with us this evening.
Thank you so much, Karen and Carrie, for having Ghislaine and I attend this event tonight. So our itinerary for tonight, there is a lot that we want to cover, and we do thank you for joining this session. So today's presentation, we will go over our story, emergency medical insurance, understanding your health when it relates to the medical questionnaire, as well as going through trip cancellation and interruption insurance, how to purchase CAA travel insurance, how to use CAA travel insurance, and why choose CAA travel insurance. We will have time at the end for some questions and answers. So please, if you do have questions, we will address those in the chat, or if you feel free to enter them into the chat, and we'll get to those at the end of the presentation. So to start, the history of CAA. So a little bit about our background around Orion Travel Insurance. So CAA is our exclusive distributor of Orion Travel Insurance. And in 2012, AMA, which is CAA in Alberta and CAA South Central Ontario, they got together and said that the CAA clubs across Canada are dealing with different insurance companies. So some were dealing with Manulife, some were dealing with Blue Cross, but it was then decided that we'd be able to provide a better experience to CAA members by, one, gaining control of the coverage of what we're providing, and two, gaining the control of the claims experience. So how many claims are actually being paid. So both of those clubs did decide to start Orion Travel Insurance, and that is where we were born. So the exclusive benefits to CAA travel insurance we'll go through in detail in this presentation, but that's a little bit of a background of how Orion was born. All right. So we were founded, again, with a few key values in mind, seeing that we are a CAA company. We are obsessed with member safety. So everything we do it with the traveler in mind. If we see certain things happening in the travel industry, such as what has happened during COVID, or even what's happened with the situation within the States, if there's anything that we notice that travelers are being challenged with or facing, we're going to come in and try to include some new benefits that would address some of those challenges. And we were founded again with the idea of, let's look at ways of how we can pay claims and not be the insurance company that is looking in the policy documentation, looking for a reason to deny your claims. We always are looking for reasons to pay the claims. All right, so moving on to what type of coverage do you need? So we offer 3 base products. So really you want to understand what type of coverage you need and really choose a product that will be best suited for your travel needs. So the first one we have is our out-of-province emergency medical insurance. And this would cover you basically anywhere where you're traveling outside of your home province, including within Canada. So we do have multiple plans. We have our single daily trip plans, as well as our emergency medical annual plans. The annual plans are great if you are traveling multiple times throughout the year. They do offer unlimited coverage within Canada. So this is basically our most popular type of insurance that a lot of people tend to purchase through our stores or online. The second option would be our trip cancellation and interruption insurance, and then the package plan, where it combines both medical insurance and the trip cancellation and trip interruption. So again, the trip cancellation would be prior to you leaving home, and then the trip interruption would be once you leave home, covering any interruption or delays. I just wanted to touch quickly on the travel advisories as well. So it always is a good reminder to, when you are traveling, before you leave, do check the travel advisories in the destination that you're traveling to. If you have purchased your insurance before any travel advisories have been put out, so level 3 or higher, your coverage is not impacted. But if you are purchasing a travel insurance policy where, say, a level 4 a travel advisory has been put out and you do purchase your travel insurance after, where you would not be covered in those scenarios. So we do want to ensure that you are checking travel advisories, or check with your travel agent at CAA North and East, and they would be able to advise if there's any travel advisories for your specific destination. Okay, so looking at the options to customize your plan. So we do have a lot of different options that we can really customize your insurance plans. So one of the main ones that we do see a lot of people purchasing is our multi-trip plans. So again, as mentioned, these plans are great if you are traveling outside of your home province. So whether it be to sunny destination or overseas into Europe, these plans will cover you for multiple days throughout the year. So we have different options that you can select, which range from either a 4-day, 8-day, 15-day, 30-day, or 60-day option, as well as our vacation package annual. Those ones you can pick from 4-day, 8-day, 15, as well as a 30-day. And then we have our automatic renewal option as well on our multi-trip plans. So that gives you the convenience of knowing that your policy will automatically renew year after year. And there's no need to repurchase or forget about the travel insurance when you are traveling. You will be automatically covered. If you are at the age of where you do have to complete a medical questionnaire, then you will be sent an offer to renew, and you would just have to complete the medical questionnaire before the automatic renewal goes through again year after year. Again, also just to point out, with the multi-trip plans, you do have that unlimited coverage within Canada. So if you do take out, for example, a 4-day plan and you end up taking a summer trip out to BC, there's no additional coverage that you would have to purchase outside of the multi-trip plan, as it would give you that unlimited coverage within Canada. The next option to customize would be a deductible option. So again, we have ranges from, I believe it starts at 300 and it goes up to 50,000. And these are great options to reduce your premiums. If you're on the fence about the cost of the insurance, then you can definitely apply a deductible to decrease the amount in your premium. We also have family rates that are available. Family rates are great. So it's a family of 3 or more, which I believe children under age 25 and under would apply for a family rate. So these are discounted to, it's 2 times the eldest in the family, but it's a great option for families. So instead of purchasing an individual policy for each traveler, it does give you a bit of a discount there. And then we move into our extra coverages. So I will get into a bit more detail with the pre-existing medical condition rider, but this is something that we do offer. So this would be if you do have a pre-existing medical condition that hasn't quite met the stability period, depending on your age, this would be an option that we could add on to your coverage. And then we also have our sports and speed activity rider and our adventurous air activity rider as well. So, if you're in destination, you want to go on that hot air balloon ride, this is a great option to customize your plan and add on that adventurous activities air rider. Great. So moving into our emergency medical insurance. So really the emergency medical insurance, we really think that this is a core product. So if you are on the fence about purchasing travel insurance, we really think that this is a product that you should get. The trip cancellation and interruption does provide a ton of value, and we do highly recommend. But we do hear that there is a percentage of Canadians that are traveling without basic coverage. So one of the things that you want to look at when purchasing your travel insurance is at least have coverage for 5 million. That's our recommended amount as a minimum to have. And again, too, we don't look at the specific emergency medical situation in isolation. So when you are purchasing that emergency medical product, if say for example you are in destination, you had a fall and you break your leg, we are going to be looking at the entire situation. So with that broken leg example, you potentially could be hospitalized. You could potentially have surgery. You would need a cast, crutches, and we would take care of all of that treatment. But in addition to the treatment, we would be covering any other benefits that we could apply to that scenario. So if you drove to your destination, we would look after the return of vehicle if you couldn't drive home. If you were traveling with your pets, we would take care of that. So if you needed to have, your pet returned home or kennel costs, that is something that would be covered in our benefits. So again, we do look at the entire situation and see where we can apply our benefits. So we do get a lot of questions from people that are looking at taking out insurance, and they do say, "Oh, I'm just traveling within Canada. I don't need coverage." We think it is still very important to get coverage when you are traveling within Canada, just mainly for the fact that the expenses that if you have obviously coverage in Ontario, when you are traveling outside of Canada, not all coverages are included under OHIP. So things like prescriptions or ambulance, ground or air, semi-private rooms, those types of things that are not covered would be something that would be covered under our plan. So again, it is super important to get that travel insurance, even if you are traveling outside of your province. Again, just covering what it could cost. So if you do travel, say again, out to BC and you happen to break your leg, what benefits that the travel insurance would cover: ambulance to the hospital if required, semi-private room if needed, your crutches, prescriptions, return your car back home if you cannot drive, the return airfare would be covered, as well as, again, returning pets or children for caring for them as well. That would be something that would be covered under the plan when purchasing the emergency medical insurance. So emergency treatment, for emergency treatment versus ongoing treatment. So we get basically what's the difference between the two. So emergency medical insurance is really made for emergencies. It is not for ongoing treatments. So again, I know I keep going back to the broken leg example, but if you happen to break your leg in destination and you have an accident, we're going to, again, take care of all of that. So whether you're hospitalized or admitted, need surgery, or if you don't need surgery, everything is going to be covered for that particular situation. But then once that emergency medical situation is looked after and you return back to a condo or your hotel or the resort that you're staying at, the emergency medical treatment in that situation would be deemed to be over at that time. So we wouldn't continue to pay for things like if you did need physio after that. Those types of scenarios or those types of treatments would not be covered under the emergency medical plan. So it would be strictly to that isolated incident. And again, whatever else we can provide in terms of the benefits, that would be covered. But for ongoing treatment, that would be outside of the emergency medical. All right, so moving into how it works. So if you are in destination and you need to use the services, we do suggest that you do call prior to seeking any medical attention. You would call our CAA assistance line, and then they would triage what type of services that you would require. So if it's a non-emergency situation, you're not feeling well, and they advise you, this is something that we could potentially service you with telemedicine, or even a physician could do a house call or wherever you're staying. If that's applicable in the area, that is something that they can arrange. Or they would advise if it's something a bit more urgent, suggesting you go to the closest urgent care clinic or hospital in your area. So they would be able to tell you from where you're calling from, with the best location to go to, and where you can receive that care. So again, we do advise if you can call beforehand. That is something that we would prefer you to do, but we know in certain situations that's not always the case. And this really, the reason why we ask you to call up front is so that you don't have to pay out of pocket. A lot of the time, we want to find the best medical provider for your scenario, for you to get that high level of care. Again, avoiding all out of pocket expenses, and arrange direct billing where we can. And then also so we can monitor your medical treatment to make sure that you're only receiving the required care that's medically necessary. And then again, making sure that that whole process goes very smoothly for you. All right, so imagine the unexpected. So here we have a couple of examples. This is for a trip to the U.S. So if you are traveling and you happened, to get an ear infection or a cold, these are some examples and averages that we are seeing. The cost can vary from destination to destination, but as a couple of examples, just to provide some premium amounts, the ear infection could range from $800 to $3,500. Broken leg could be $15,000 to up to $150,000. Heart attack could be $135,000 up to $310,000. And then we also have the air ambulance. Again, this is something that we do cover in our policy, but it does have to be prearranged first and deemed medically necessary. But the cost of that alone could cost anywhere from $54,000 to $87,000. Again, just to make note, these are based on 2024 claims data. So growing costs that we see over the years, these amounts potentially could be a lot more. And this is just another example of an example where we've seen a family Caribbean cruise. So they did purchase their vacation package with us. The total cost of their vacation package was $949. And the child on the family cruise wasn't feeling well, went and received medical attention. The medical condition was deemed as tonsillitis, and their medical cost was $54,752. So in the grand scheme of things, when you are getting prices and thinking, $950 seems like a lot of money. In the event that something does happen to yourself or a travel companion, it could be a ton more money that you would be out of pocket if you didn't purchase the coverage to protect that investment. Okay, so moving on to understanding your health. So here's where we're going to look at the medical questionnaire and the pre-existing conditions. So with the medical questionnaire and pre-existing medical conditions, we do get a lot of questions around this subject. So I really want to give you a bit more information. So let's start with the questionnaire. So what do you need to know about the medical questionnaire? So first, what's important, at least from a CAA perspective, when you are buying your travel insurance policy with CAA, the medical questionnaire determines your premium and not your coverage. So if you are answering yes to a question, it does not mean that we are going to exclude you for that condition. If, for example, if you're saying yes to a heart condition or diabetes or lung condition, it doesn't mean that we're not going to cover you. This is so that we can apply the appropriate rate to your premium, but we won't necessarily exclude you. That's more on the stability side, which I'll cover in just a minute. It is important to answer the medical questions as accurately as possible. So if you are unsure, we do always ask, or I'm sure your agent will refer you to speak to your doctor and get clarification on how you should be answering a specific question on the medical questionnaire. Now, moving into the pre-existing medical conditions. So depending on the provider, pre-existing conditions can vary. So often the coverage is dependent on stability. So this is very important to look at when you are shopping around to make sure that your pre-existing medical conditions are covered. Some companies will just outright exclude any pre-existing medical conditions. Some of them will ask for a very long stability period, such as 1 year. So you'll hear a lot about stability when looking into purchasing travel insurance. So we offer our stability is basically, or how we define stability is any sickness, injury, or medical condition that is not stable in the time frame prior to each departure date as specified in your policy. So really what we can talk about in terms of stability is really probably different from what your doctor might define as stable. So for example, if you have been treated for diabetes for say 20 years and your doctor changes your medication, he would say you're stable. But from a travel insurance perspective, any change to your health condition, to your treatments, that dosage or frequency of your medication, the condition itself, any new symptoms that require investigative testing, these are all things that put the stability of that condition in question for a travel insurance company. So again, really the stability timelines, this kind of displays what we're looking at. So when you book your trip for, 6 months, so we have two stability periods. We have one that, depending on your age, we determine for the majority of travelers, it's 6 months. So you have 180 days of stability, which means no changes to the list of things that I mentioned earlier, no changes in that 6-month period prior to your departure date. If you are 60 years of age and younger, it is 3 months. So again, you want to have that stability period where you want to review that stability period when you are purchasing your trip to make sure that you are covered appropriately. If you do have a pre-existing condition if you do have a pre-existing condition and you want to reduce that stability period down to 7 days, we do have something that we can customize your plan with and add on, which is called our pre-existing condition rider. So it would be applicable on our emergency medical single trip, as well as our multi-trip and top-up plans. And then we have offered on our vacation package single trip, as well as our annual plan. So again, this rider will reduce the stability period from 6 months to or 3 months down to 7 days. However, it is limited to the 200,000 of coverage for that condition. So it would reimburse again up to that 200,000 per insured per trip for eligible hospital and medical related expenses. We do think that the medical or the pre-existing rider is a good option if you have like a minor ailment. If you have something a bit more severe, say as like a heart condition, and you're not quite comfortable with that 200,000 limit, then we do have another option that we can look at. But this rider does provide peace of mind for yourself when you are traveling, just to reduce that stability period, again, for any pre-existing condition. The second option would be our individual medical underwriting. So this coverage is a bit more expensive. It is tailored specifically to your needs. And this is covering your declared pre-existing conditions. There is no stability for this product. So all of your pre-existing declared conditions are covered under this plan. You do have to purchase it through our partner care team. So your agent, if you are in a CAA North and East office and you don't quite either qualify for our standard offering products or want more coverage for your pre-existing conditions, this is an option for you, and they can put you through to our partner care team to go over the plan and go through the premiums for you. So it is a bit more flexible, but again, it is more expensive. And then we have our deductibles. So the deductible, again, as mentioned, it can reduce premiums and provide cost savings. If you are consistently applying a deductible, it can create significant savings over time. So if you are purchasing policies year after year and adding on a deductible, you could be saving quite a significant amount. And we do that. We do have deductibles. We see it on our home and auto policies as well currently. So why not introduce a deductible to your travel insurance policy as well? All right, so moving into our trip cancellation and interruption insurance. So here, what we're looking at is what we find very important with our trip cancellation coverage is that we want to make sure that you don't lose the investment that you've made on your trip. So essentially, if anything happens prior to your departure date, something that might affect your travel plans for all of those non-refundable prepaid expenses, whether it be your cruise or a hotel, your flight, we want to make sure that you don't lose money. So some of these trips can be very expensive, and the cost of travel is going up year after year, and there could be, a whole bunch of reasons that could come up. Whether it be, weather due to natural disasters, or just that you become sick before you travel, your travel companion gets sick, or even if you are traveling with kids, one of the kids gets sick, so you can no longer travel. So these are all situations where the value of trip cancellation really becomes evident. So we do highly recommend and suggest that when you are shopping around for travel insurance, don't just look at the emergency medical insurance, but also inquire about the package plans or the trip cancellation coverage. Now, the value of the trip cancellation, again, just as a high level, it does cover prepaid travel expenses in the event that your travel plans unexpectedly, have to be canceled before you departure, before your departure. And what we see is 80% of trip cancellation claims are because of either yourself or immediate family members do get sick or injured before traveling. So when we're looking at trip timelines, we do always suggest that when you book your trip, you do want to purchase the trip cancellation right away. So as soon as you put down any type of deposit, even if it's just $500, and you want to purchase that trip cancellation coverage, as within that certain period of time, there are some additional benefits that come along with that. So we do have a benefit in our trip cancellation coverage called cancel for any reason. So essentially, if you have any if you have any reason to cancel outside of our insured risks, that you wake up one morning and you just feel like you don't want to travel anymore, you do have the right to cancel your trip with that benefit of cancel for any reason or cancel for any other reason, and then you would be able to claim for that. So again, we do want to make sure that you are properly covered, and what type of impacts what impacts do when you are purchasing the trip cancellation and interruption insurance, that you want to make sure that you don't know of any reason to cancel prior to purchasing your coverage, as that would not be a covered reason. Or again, if you do purchase your travel insurance after a travel advisory has been issued, that type of coverage would not be applicable to your coverage when purchasing the trip cancellation. Now, looking at the CAA difference. So again, we do have exclusive benefits to CAA travel insurance. As mentioned, they cancel for any other reason, as well as the interruption for any reason. So if you do book with your CAA Travel North and East agent, then you are applicable to get a refund of up to 75% of your non-refundable prepaid travel arrangements. Whereas if you book elsewhere, you would get refunded the 50%. We also cover the denied boarding or entry, and then we also include our bounce back as well. So bounce back would be if you are traveling to a destination and something happens to your home, so whether it be a flood or fire, and you need to come back home to attend that and sort that situation out. If you do have enough time and want to return to your destination, then you can do that as well. That is an option that's covered in our policy. And here we're just seeing another Caribbean cruise interruption claim. So what happened in this scenario is that the clients had booked the vacation package, took out their package with us. It cost them $234. And while they were en route to the airport, there was a winter storm. So this caused them to claim for an interruption claim. Due to the storm, they could not travel and missed their cruise. So the claim amount was 7,000 Canadian. So again, looking at the premium, it may seem a little high, but overall, if you do have to submit a claim for that travel investment, it is a great option to provide that convenience, knowing that you are going to be covered and getting your non-refundable prepaid travel arrangements amount back. So what's next? How to buy and use your travel insurance. So how to purchase. You can purchase obviously in your CAA North and East store. You can also call your local store if you can't make it in person. And as well, we offer our online option as well to purchase travel insurance. And then when you need it's the CAA assistance. So again, just reassuring that if you do call the CAA assistance toll-free line, it is available. We do have agents available 24/7. So they're there to help when you are in need. So whether again be letting you know where the closest location is that you can go to, or if you need to submit a claim, this will help you within the team that we have, and they'll be able to provide the details that you're requiring. You can also use WhatsApp. That's new for this year. You can contact our claims team with WhatsApp if you are traveling overseas or anywhere doesn't necessarily have to be overseas, but in destination, if you can't call at the time. And then you can also email and mail as well. So looking at some of our CAA travel insurance advantages. So why CAA travel insurance? So sorry, there we go. So we do have our member savings. So as Karen mentioned earlier, I believe it's up to 20% the CAA members can save, depending on what type of membership you do have. So, if you are not a current CAA member, it's a great opportunity to get that additional savings when you are purchasing your travel insurance, to become a member with all the great exclusive benefits that come along with a membership, but also save on your travel insurance premiums. And then we do have, again, our 24/7 assistance claims team. They're there to help in any way that they can if you do need to use the services. The 75% cancel or interruption for any other reason when booked through CAA. Of course, we have the COVID-19 coverage, which hopefully we're past that and we don't need to talk about that too much more. The pre-existing medical condition rider as well. So again, this is a great option that if you do have a pre-existing condition, we can customize your plan and add on that pre-existing rider, to bring down the stability period from either 3 months or 6 months. And then we also have a great relationship with over 400 network providers in over 208 countries. So again, we have a certain level of expectation for care. So when you are in an emergency medical situation, we know what type of service you would receive in any destination that you're in. So it's a really robust network that we deal with, and there's multiple locations around the world. That concludes our presentation. So again, I know if there's any questions, we can answer them now, and we'll go through them. Myself and Ghislaine are happy to answer.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Lindsay. That was a lot of great information. I see Ghislaine behind the scenes was answering some of those questions while you were speaking, but there's still quite a few more. And Carrie and I will tag team and present the questions to you. So the first one is, my pension plan provides 42 days for out of province. The first question is, can CAA provide additional days?
Absolutely. Yeah, we can definitely do what's called a top-up external. So we would just simply ask for the name or the company that you have the coverage with, and we can top it up for additional days. As long as that's allowed by your provider, then that is absolutely something that we can offer.
Great. Second question to that is, if injury occurs during the initial period, would CAA insurance continue for the balance, or is it now considered a pre-existing condition?
Sorry, Karen, can you just repeat the first part of that question?
So if injury occurs during the initial period, would CAA insurance continue for the balance, or was it now considered a pre-existing condition?
I'm maybe not understanding the question entirely, but if it's
Okay.
for
So my
if it,
so my pension plan provides 42 days of,
okay.
of insurance for
Yeah.
out of province. Yeah.
So if the claim is made under or if it happened during the first 45 days, the claim would go through your provider. If it happened during the top up portion, then it would come through Orion.
Okay. Over to you, Carrie.
Yep. So, recent article in Globe and Mail about senior denied benefit payments in Florida because the insurance company got the senior's doctor's note and claimed a pre-existing condition was no coverage, payment denied. More of a statement, but you want me to read it again, Lindsay, or?
Sure. Yeah, we might have to take that one away, but
So, recent article in Globe and Mail about senior denied benefits payments in Florida because the insured company got the senior's doctor's notes and claimed a pre-existing condition, so no coverage, payment denied.
So what I'm hearing, and just then jump in if you think I'm incorrect on this, but what I'm hearing is that the doctor's notes that were provided, that the claim, what the client was claiming for, was deemed to be a pre-existing condition. So if it was a pre-existing condition and didn't meet our stability timelines, depending again on your age, then it would not be covered if it was unstable. If it's a stable condition, a pre-existing condition, and you meet the stability, then it, of course, is something that would be covered under the policy. But again, if it's pre-existing and not stable, based on our stability period, then no, it would not be covered.
Okay, next one. If I have a free trip, can it be insured for the replacement value with trip cancellation coverage rather than what we paid for the trip, which in this case was zero? For example, if you win a trip and it's booked on a non-changeable, non-refundable, but you come down with pneumonia just before leaving, is insurance available to provide the funds to rebook the trip at a later date, even though you paid zero for the trip?
That one I'll have to take away and get back to you. We can answer that and get one of the agents to contact. But I'm pretty sure with any type of free trip or even points, it's not something that we do cover. But I'll take that away and get that out to you.
Great, thank you.
Next one, we work for the federal government and our plan covers us during out of country trips. We are not sure about the details. We're wondering if we would need to buy extra insurance from CAA.
So again, if you're traveling outside of the province, depending on what you have coverage for under your existing plan, we can definitely do a top up. We would just need the details of how many days you're covered for, and if that coverage allows top ups, then we can provide that additional coverage.
Okay, next one is, can you comment on cancer? I was refused coverage by Orion earlier this year because I had early stage cancer more than a year ago that was treated, stable, and dealt with.
Again, this one might be tricky to answer just because there's probably going to be, I'm assuming a medical questionnaire was probably involved. And depending on how the medical questionnaire was answered would determine the eligibility. So we could look at that one. If you can provide more details, one of the agents can review it, or they can contact us and we can review the scenario, the specific scenario.
Thank you.
What kind of pre-existing conditions are refused with non-stability rider?
So if there's no rider added, so anything again that doesn't meet the stability period. So if it's, if you've had, say, a hip replacement within, the 6 months of your travel date, and it's not quite deemed stable as of yet, or again, if you've had a change in medication, even though you potentially would be looked at by your doctor as stable, there, times where people get a decrease in medication. That's still considered a change and would become unstable because there was a change in medication. Yeah, again, even if it's for the better that you're decreasing the amount, that's still a change in that dosage. So that would become a pre-existing condition, and that's where you could add on the pre-existing rider to bring that down to 7 days prior to departure.
Great. If one has travel insurance through your public service healthcare plan, how does this work with Orion Insurance in the case of a medical emergency?
So I'm thinking this question is more on how it would be, the benefits would be paid out or how the claim is made. But again, if it's regarding the top up portion, we can top up, but we would coordinate benefits. So we would be secondary to pay out if you do have coverage with another company. We would look to coordinate those benefits.
I have this type of coverage through my American Express or Visa credit cards. If I book the travel using their cards, would this be like getting double insurance?
So again, it depends what you're covered for with your credit card. So you just want to make sure when you are taking the credit card insurance that you know exactly what you are covered for the type of coverage that you're looking for. So whether it be emergency medical strictly or trip cancellation, you'd want to look into those details. But if you are not covered for certain benefits, we're more than happy to offer the top up or a single standalone trip cancellation or interruption policy on top of what you have with your credit card coverage.
What insurance premium discounts, if any, are there if you book through a CAA travel consultant?
So the
for
insurance premium
insurance,
discounts would be up to 20%.
yeah.
Yes, and that depends on your membership level.
Yes.
Right.
Can you get 100% refund with cancel or interruption coverage?
So again, it would be depending on the insured risk, that the reason why you're canceling. So if it is an insured risk, then yes. If it's not an insured risk and you claim under the cancel for any reason, then that would be up to the 75% if you booked with CAA Travel. If you booked elsewhere, it would provide you with that 50% of the non-refundable for cancel for any reason specifically.
If I'm traveling to multiple locations and I don't know when I'm going to be back in Canada, how do I go about purchasing travel insurance?
So probably I would recommend doing an annual plan, purchasing the annual policy for the duration that you think you're going to be away for. If you're going to be taking multiple trips or in and out of Canada and traveling multiple times, that again is a great option, because as soon as you return back to Canada, not necessarily your home province, the annual plan will reset. So if you take out a 30-day plan or a 15-day plan, you have those 15 or 30 days to travel on outside of your province. As soon as you come back to Canada, those days will reset. So you would have another 15 or 30-day plan to travel on. Again, within Canada, it's unlimited, but that would probably be the best option if you are traveling multiple times and in and out of Canada.
What happens if a new condition arises during the trip, particularly longer ones, such as new illness or pregnancy?
So pregnancy, we don't have an insured risk specifically, but if you have a new condition, it's something that comes up that you haven't had prior to your departure, and you need medical assistance for. That would be something that would be a benefit under our policy.
Is there any coverage for legal assistance for detention, example, ICE in the USA?
Ghislaine, do you know? I'm not quite sure on that one. I'd have to take that one away.
Okay.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
I would say that there's no protection for legal on this case, but yeah, let's take that away.
Yeah. My spouse has a pre-existing medical condition, but I do not. Should she get her own insurance policy, or would it be best to get one policy that covers both of us?
So we can put you on the same plan. We can have two people on the same policy as long as you reside obviously in the same household, being spouses. But you would technically have your individual own plan. So you would each have to fill out a medical questionnaire if you're at that medical questionnaire age. If you're not, you can still be on the same plan, but you would each have your own coverage. So I guess just to kind of elaborate a bit more, if there are pre-existing conditions, then each person, each insured would be deemed as, they even though you'd be under the same policy, you would still have the stability period would apply to each individual.
I had a medical heart condition many years ago. Surgery remedied the condition and no longer affects me. Does a precondition still exist from the insurance perspective?
So as long as you're considered stable in our, again, in what we consider stable, either the 3 months or 6 months, I'm assuming probably the 6-month period, then you would be fine to purchase our plan. There's nothing that would prevent you from being covered. Again, it just goes back to the stability period. If anything changes with that condition prior to your departure date, then that's when it would become unstable.
Why does the insurance ask about a doctor's checkup? Do I need a checkup before applying for insurance?
So not necessarily. I mean, we do have the option. You can answer yes or no to that question, depending on when you've seen your doctor last. But it does come into the ratings, so that say if somebody has seen a doctor within the last 18 months, we know more about their medical conditions before they travel versus if somebody hasn't seen a doctor within the last 5 years. We don't really know what potentially could have been a pre-existing condition, so it might impact the rates. But yes, that is one of the questions that we do ask.
Is a pre-existing condition of 200,000 different than the $5 million for medical coverage? Does one override the other?
So for the pre-existing condition rider, again, that would only cover for the 200,000 maximum for the specific declared pre-existing condition. Anything else outside of that, you would have the full 5 million of coverage.
I am planning on traveling to Europe next year. My main concern is when I read comments on the internet, according to customer reviews, experience with Orion Travel Insurance is generally negative and denied claims, communication issues, and slow reimbursement. In general, the experiences vary, but the pattern on complaints about the claims and the complaints process is a notable factor. What factor is CAA involved in the complaint process with the client and Orion, considering Orion is a CAA provider?
So for this particular question, I'm actually very happy to announce that we have changed our provider. So we are no longer with our previous provider, which probably would have provoked some of those comments that you have read that would have been in a negative review. So we were now partnered with Exodus, and we have been launched with them since July 1st. And the claims feedback, we are turning around claims, paying out claims within a 6-day period for most claims, and have had all great and wonderful client feedback saying that they were super impressed with the claims experience. So hopefully, anyone that has purchased in the past that unfortunately went through the claims process and didn't have a great experience, if you do happen to purchase the travel insurance for your next trip and have to use the coverage, you'll have a completely different experience with Exodus. So again, we're very pleased with how things have gone, and we're looking forward to continue the relationship with them.
I have a ski trip booked for February. My daughter is booked for a cesarean 2 weeks after I return. If something happens and she's hospitalized due to a medical emergency prior to me leaving, can I cancel the trip? Can't imagine being away if this situation arises.
Again, this goes back to as long as you're not aware of any reason that would prevent you from canceling. So if everything is fine currently with her, there's no known issues or known reasons that would prevent you from traveling, then yes, it would be something that you would be provided a benefit for if you did need to cancel due to an unforeseen medical emergency.
If when a medical emergency occurs and I have emergency insurance through work insurance plan, who do I call first? Work insurance or CAA insurance?
Ghislaine, do you want to take that one or?
Sorry, Lindsay, I was answering question
Okay,
in the
that's
chat.
okay.
He's
A lot
active
of
on the
question.
chat. I'll say it
A
again.
lot of question. I love it.
There is, I know.
Yeah.
If when a medical emergency occurs and I have emergency insurance through work insurance plan, who do I call first? Work insurance or CAA insurance?
So I think for this one, it doesn't necessarily matter. I think it depends on when the claim is being made. So if you, again, have to make a claim where you're covered with your company's policy within, say, the first 30 days, and then you would contact them first. If it is a claim that has to be made after, outside of those 30 days, where our coverage would kick in, then you would contact Orion, and then we would process from there.
If I get an 8-day annual medical emergency plan to go to the States and then I go to Portugal for a month, do I need to buy a separate policy or can I do a top up?
You can absolutely do a top up. So again, if you purchase an 8-day policy for the year, as if most of your trips are within a 1-week period, but for one particular trip is going to be exceeding those days, then you can absolutely do a top up for that one 30-day trip.
I see you're answering this one, Ghislaine, so I'll skip the CAA pay direct to the hospital, or do I have to pay upfront and then get reimbursed?
So
And
in
he's
most
answered
cases, he's answered that. Okay.
He said it's gone.
Well, it's a good question, but yes, in most situations, CA will always pay first. This is our goal, and we want to make sure that there's in a very limited amount of person that would have out-of-pocket money. So yes, make sure to call us as soon as possible so we can arrange all these payment with the medical provider. But yes, you can expect not to have any out-of-pocket money.
If your injury happens on the return travel and at the airport where you're connecting, what date does your coverage end? And if you end up in the hospital for surgery and stay an extra week, will those expenses be covered?
So if it is for an emergency medical situation and you need to extend that portion, we do have the automatic extension. So if you are in a situation where it's out of your control and you're seeking the medical attention that's required, then your policy would be automatically extended, and then we would allow time for you to return home as well. So no additional charges would be applicable in that scenario.
I have more than one pre-existing condition. Would I be able to purchase CAA insurance?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you do have more than one pre-existing condition, depending on, again, how the medical questionnaire is answered, you potentially could qualify for the standard product. If not, we can look at those different options. So we can look at adding on a pre-existing condition rider to give you more coverage for those specific conditions, or it may we may put you through to medical underwriting. So that would provide the coverage for those pre-existing medical conditions that you're declaring, and that would be, again, a bit more of a tailored policy. But that's definitely something that we can look into if you do have multiple conditions.
We're looking at a multi-trip plan and I have a pre-existing condition and I am short the stability period by 2 months for the first trip in January. If I select the pre-condition rider, the 200,000 limit for the first trip, with the second trip past the stability period have 5 million coverage.
It would. So the pre-existing condition rider, if you are adding it on to an annual policy, it will stay for the entire year on that policy. But again, then it would just not apply to your stability for any other trips after that. So you can definitely add it on for the trip that you need it, if it's the first trip, or say it's the second trip that you want to add it on. You can definitely modify your policy and add that pre-existing rider on to your annual plan.
You had mentioned that some conditions were not accepted even if you purchase a 7-day stability clause, to clarify.
Sorry, Carrie, can you say that one more time?
You had mentioned that some conditions were not accepted even if you purchase a 7-day stability clause, to clarify.
So for the pre-existing condition, again, to add on that rider, it will bring down that stability period from the 3 or 6 months. to 7 days. But if it's depending on what condition you're looking to cover, and when the condition arises, then it potentially may not be something that we can cover with the pre-existing rider. So it's something that the agent can look into based on your specific scenario.
If nitro was prescribed but never used and a year later was removed from my prescriptions with my doctor, nitro was prescribed based on chest pain and later heart scan at the Heart Institute was declared no condition existed. Is this considered a pre-existing heart condition?
So if it's deemed that it's not a condition and you're in the clear, then no, it wouldn't be considered a pre-existing condition.
Okay.
I'm an executor to my uncle as well as my mother. Are these considered family members for trip cancellation interruption? If no, can we customize?
I'm going to say yes,
Yes, yeah.
if I'm understanding the question
Yeah, I would
correctly.
say yes too. Yeah,
Yeah.
uncle and mother, so they are family. So yes.
Yeah.
As long as they have purchase cancel insurance. Yeah.
Yeah.
My wife has cancer. It's considered in remission by the oncologist. However, she needs to get blood work done every month to monitor her condition, and her chemo medication is adjusted accordingly. How does the stability period apply in this type of case?
So we do have certain scenarios. Again, this would be looked at case by case when we are issuing the policy. So depending on how the questionnaire is answered and timelines, certain medications we know that have to be adjusted every month, and that's out of the client's control. So if it falls under that type of scenario where they're in remission, they've been in remission for 1 year stable, and then the dosage has to change month after month. That's something that the agent would be able to look into to see how it would specifically apply to that scenario. But again, kind of just as a broad statement, and not specific to this scenario exactly, we do recognize that there are scenarios that they do have to be adjusted, and that wouldn't affect this stability period because this is out of the client's control. But again, we would look at all the details before giving you a for sure answer on if that condition would be covered.
If a medical issue occurs during coverage from a group plan and a medical treatment services continues during the period of a CAA top-up, does it continue, or does CAA consider it a pre-existing condition?
It would be a pre-existing condition on our policy. So if it happened prior to ours kicking in, then it would be considered a pre-existing condition on the Orion plan.
If I initially ask for coverage of a certain amount, but then the cost changed, can I change my coverage amount?
For trip cancellation, yes, you can. You can modify the amount. So again, when you're purchasing your trip, we do recommend to take out the trip cancellation and interruption policy right away. Again, even if it's just for the deposit. But each time your amount increases, you would contact your agent and they can increase that amount to cover the sum insured.
Why is the health questionnaire concerned with being prescribed steroids ever?
Just trying to think about that one.
I know, yeah.
That one we might have to take away as well and get back to you. Yeah.
For claims processing, does Orion request the physician's entire file? How far back would Orion investigate the physician's file?
So I can't really speak to how our claims process works. Our claims team is an entirely different team. So we can find out that information for you and let Karen and Carrie know, and they can reach out to you and let you know. But it's not something that I'm aware of off the top. But I do know that they do request the medical history. So depending on how far they go back, I'm not entirely sure if it's within, you know, a 5-year period or 10 years. But we know that the entire file is requested if needed.
It's usually
What is the-
related to the policy itself. So there's no mention of within like during your lifetime, when in that case they could check prior for that, but if not, it's usually within the policy language.
What is considered a checkup? Is it a full physical or just a doctor's appointment?
So I believe it's if you're going in to even just a doctor's appointment where they're doing, you know, checking your blood pressure, just checking all the main points, then that can still be considered as a checkup. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a full physical, but definitely, yes, if you've seen your doctor and they are kind of reviewing the high level, then that would be considered, yes, a doctor's visit.
I was diagnosed with diverticulitis and had to take pills. I am now stable. What happens if this happens again out of the country? Will I be covered or should I take a pre-existing condition?
Again, if you are stable and meet our stability period, then you wouldn't have to purchase the pre-existing rider. Only if you know are traveling and it say there's a dosage change in that medication or there is a change in medication, adding a new medication in, those types of things that would be considered you then to become unstable. That is when we would recommend to add on the pre-existing rider. But it sounds like you are stable and you are good to travel.
The non-refundable portion of a trip cost after final payment changes the closer to trip departure. How is that taken into account in calculation of the premium for trip cancellation insurance?
So each time you're adding on the additional cost that you want to insure, it will increase the premium. So depending on what the amount is, it will increase the premium either up, or if you're decreasing it, you know, if you're making changes and you now need to, you've overinsured yourself before you travel and now you're decreasing it, that can be done as well. But it really depends on the amount that you're insuring, that sum insured that will determine the premium.
No, we always sum insure for the full amount at time of deposit.
Yeah.
My current job ends April 2026 and I've booked a trip for July 2026. If I get a new job that requires me to work so that I can't go on my planned trip, am I covered under cancel for any reason?
So cancel for any other reason is just that. So if you do need to cancel for any reason that is not listed in our insured benefits, that would be applicable as long as you've purchased it within the time period that's noted in the policy. So I believe it's 72 hours that you have, or 48. I'd have to double check, but as long as you purchase it within the time frame, then that would be something that you could claim under. Again, it is canceled for any other reason.
And it's within 72 hours of booking and paying for your trip with a CAA. If I need to add an extra day or two to my 30 days while traveling in Spain, can I pay for these additional days prior to, I think it's saying, prior to?
So prior, you can add them on while you're traveling, but we always recommend, if you know before you travel that you do need to add on additional days to your travel plans, then we do recommend you do it before. Just reason being, if you are in destination and you want to extend further, there are situations where we've seen, you know, people might forget to extend before their policy then their policy expires and then they call in after. We would have to get authorization. We review, the amount of days that you've previously been out of the country for. There's a lot of factors that go into potentially approving that. So we do always recommend, if you do know that you're going to be away longer than what you have the coverage for, then you can top up before you leave.
I had a malignant melanoma over 30 years ago and never again. Can I be covered?
If it's trying to think if that's part of our eligibility. I might have to look at that one and get back to you, just because I don't want to provide the incorrect information on that.
There's been no mention in case of death while on trip. Does a medical emergency plan cover the return home of the person?
Yes, it would.
What happens if my wife gets pregnant while on the trip and we're planning to be there for a few months? Can her ultrasound appointments, medications, etc. be covered?
No, again, we don't have any coverage, specific benefit for pregnancy.
If you had a vascular event over a year ago and were prescribed aspirin and statins proactively, but you have never taken the statin, is that considered stable?
So I'm not sure I quite understand the question, but if it's relating to or questioning about if you've been prescribed a medication and didn't take it, you've still been prescribed that prescription. So whether you've taken it or not, you would have to declare that on the medical questionnaire if it pertains to a question that's being asked, because it will be in your medical history that you've been prescribed.
Who pays for the doctor's time in preparing a patient's file for review by the claim team? Is it charged back to the policyholder?
I don't believe so. No charges should be charged back to the insured. It would be part of the claims review when they're reviewing the specific claim. If they are requesting any type, if it's a medical or trip cancellation, they would request what would be required to assess the situation and determine if it's a payable claim. But there shouldn't be any payment that would be charged to the insured for that.
Looking for clarification on which policy to consult first if you have a credit card coverage and a CAA policy, especially if it's a situation that is covered in both of them.
So again, we would do coordination of benefits, and we would work out the details kind of behind the scenes to coordinate what would be paid out by who.
If there's a "have you been hospitalized" question, what does it mean? Do you have to be admitted, or does it even going to the emergency room count as hospitalization?
Would be admission. So if you are hospitalized, it would be if you're admitted to the hospital.
Would the stability be, say, 6 months prior to purchasing the insurance or prior to leaving on your trip?
So it's always prior to your departure date, is where the stability would have to come in. So again, if you purchase your insurance, that necessarily, it doesn't have any input on the pre-existing condition. It would have to be stable prior to your departure date.
Okay, so that seems all of the questions online. We did have one that was sent in. In 2024, I visited family in Europe for 42 days. The insurance was $959. In 2025, I visited family Europe for 63 days. And because I'm now 75 years old, the insurance is $1,982. So why are travel and non-medical insurances more expensive once you're 75 or 80 years old, even if you don't have any medical conditions or take any medications?
So we really look at the entire claims history. So when we are doing our ratings and the premiums for specific plans, we're taking into account how many past claims have we had for this age group. Even if there's no medical conditions for you specifically, there might have been multiple claims for that specific age group, and that's why the premiums are higher. Again, depending on where the claim was made as well, in certain destinations, some costs are higher than others. So we do factor in all of those when we are creating our premiums, and it goes through our actuarial team and they do a review. So a lot of factors go into the premium itself. We're not penalizing just because you're 75, but it does, as the older you get, it does increase just because you're more prone to submit a claim. But it definitely, a lot of factors go into play with that.
Great. Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. Great information, Lindsay and Ghislaine. Thank you so much for helping with all those incredible questions. Your CAA Travel team are available to assist you. On the very left-hand side of the screen, you can see our upcoming travel talks. We're doing them in stores and virtually. The next one is the 19th of November with G Adventures. We're going to be doing some adventure traveling. And then on the 26th of November, we're going to be cruising with Royal Caribbean, Celebrity, and Holland America, and learning all about some very exclusive CAA cruise rates that we've just now got, especially for our members, on top of the perks that we're already giving. So you'll have to join us to learn all about those. And then on the right-hand side, all the past travel talks, including this presentation, will be on our website tomorrow. If you want to share this with family or friends, you can just click on that QR code to bring that up as well. And of course, the information is on our website. You can visit a store or give us a call to answer any further questions. Our team are all very well versed on travel insurance and trained. And of course, we have the incredible support team of Carrie, Lindsay, and Ghislaine. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thanks so much,
Pleasure.
Karen. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a great evening.
Have a great
Thank you.
night.
Take care.